So I will be giving you all my Dr. Ratio build, and I figured why not, because we will all be receiving the character for free, and I'm sure most of you are wondering how I will be building the character, and maybe some of you can benefit from this video. Yo, what up, Toshi here. So the thing is about Dr. Ratio, he can be built just like Daniel. You can put him on the 4-piece imaginary set, or you can put him on a 2-piece and 2-piece. No matter what set you put him on, he just needs to have nice stats. So Daniel could be built a little different because I use Daniel on the Musketeer set, but the imaginary set along with the Musketeer 2-piece is going to provide a lot of damage for the character. You get 10% imaginary damage bonus and you get 12% attack. But if you want more overall damage, because he is a single target damage dealer and he will be doing a lot of damage to the enemy's toughness, then I would go ahead and put him on the 4-piece imaginary set, which is going to give him so much more extra damage whenever the enemies are imprisoned. Now the thing is, the imaginary set scales really well with Silverwolf. You actually don't even have to have a Dr. Ratio on the quantum set. You can if you want to, and that still works out really nice. You do get a lot of extra damage because you'll be ignoring the enemy's defenses. And if you're already using Silverwolf with your Dr. Ratio, why not go ahead and pair him on the quantum set? But the imaginary set does benefit from this character because Silverwolf can put that imaginary weakness on the enemy, which allows your Dr. Ratio to break those enemies that did not have imaginary weakness previously, and therefore you can benefit from the 4-piece set effect with Silverwolf in the party. The thing is though, Welt does provide Imprison with his ultimate, and once he does imprison enemies with his ultimate, well, you'll have the 4-piece effect into play with Dr. Ratio. So it doesn't matter whether or not you have Silverwolf. Silverwolf is just the best all-around supporter for Dr. Ratio. Now, contrary to Seal, Dr. Ratio is a character that does not have any speed traces, and he does not have a high base speed like Seal. So he's not going to benefit from having many speed increases like this character does. So therefore, you may want to use him with a character that can push up his action forward, or you want to actually go ahead and put speed boots on that character, because he desperately needs to be able to take turns and deal more damage. He does have a follow-up attack in his kit, which is very nice because that allows him to do damage in between turns. So my Welt is a placeholder for Dr. Ratio in this video, and just know that Dr. Ratio is a character that is most likely going to have crit traces. So I expect to have probably a higher crit damage ratio. If he ends up having crit rate in his traces, then I definitely will just put Dr. Ratio in a crit damage chest to benefit from having that extra boost of crit rate, because you obviously don't need to have more than 80% crit rate on your hyper carry damage dealers, but having around 80% is just going to be the best. So I ended up sorting through my relics, and the best relics I have for Dr. Ratio, unfortunately, is going to be the quantum set. I don't know why I'm saying unfortunately, because this will be very good with him, because I plan to use Dr. Ratio with Silverwolf anyways. So we'll go over the relics right now, but since Dr. Ratio is a hunt character, you mostly want to prioritize crit. Crit stats is going to be the most important thing to have on the character. I tried to find speed in between on the pieces I do have, just so I can be able to take more turns, because in the team I will be using Dr. Ratio, I will not have anyone pushing up his action forward or giving him extra speed. So therefore I need a team to give him, I need relics to give him more speed, because he needs to naturally take turns. So I have him with a little bit more speed compared to my other characters in different builds. So I have him with Welt's traces, 128 speed. I do not know Dr. Ratio's base speed by heart, but I do remember it not being that high. I believe it was 100. I could be wrong. I have to go back and check it out. But I do have a decent amount of speed, but I obviously want to have more speed. Around 134 would be best on the character for me personally. Editor Toshi here. As you're watching the footage I did end up recording after the video, I ended up getting a nice planar spear that I was not expecting to craft in the first craft, so that was very nice. So Dr. Ratio now has a much better build, and I'm very proud of my Dr. Ratio on release. He has very nice speed, and he has very nice attack, very nice crit rate, crit damage, and he's going to absolutely crush. Anyways, I'm back to editing. When it comes to light cone choice, I'm going to use Swordplay, because with Silverwolf being able to put the imaginary weakness on the enemy, the damage boost you get from this is going to scale really hard with that defense shred, that resist shred, and the resist penetration that Silverwolf does have for the allies. So I really do like this light cone on Dr. Ratio personally, but you can opt to go for a light cone that does give crit damage and crit rate to the character, because that's going to allow your Dr. Ratio to crit more often. But if you do have very solid stats on your Dr. Ratio already, then I would opt for Swordsplay, because this is going to be one of his best free-to-play options in general. Another thing to remember, Dr. Ratio's follow-up attack does count as an actual hit on the enemy, so that's going to allow you to stack the Swordsplay light cone quicker. So if you're like me and you do plan to use Yukong alongside Dr. Ratio, Keep in mind, Yukong is going to provide crit damage to Dr. Ratio, so you don't need to have this absurd amount of crit damage because Yukong will be providing it whenever she does have her ultimate. And if you have this character with a lot of energy regeneration rate, then you'll be able to get your ult much more quicker. But in general, you're going to be giving a lot of attack to Dr. Ratio of Yukong and a lot of imaginary damage bonus. So that's one of the reasons why I love using Yukong with any imaginary character. I use her all the time with Daniel, and I will see myself using her all the time with Dr. Ratio as well. So I did showcase this team before, and this is a team I've used with Daniel all the time. And again, I see myself using the same team with Dr. Ratio as well. But I can replace Yukong with another character. I can use Bronya instead of Yukong and provide a lot of damage and give Dr. Ratio an additional turn. But Yukong is the best of both worlds, and she just gives so much value to imaginary characters. A very interesting team comp would have a full imaginary team against enemies that are already weak to imaginary, so you don't necessarily need Silverwolf to be in the party, but Silverwolf just does help with allowing your Dr. Ratio to do more damage if your Dr. Ratio is on the quantum set, so do keep that in mind. And if you are using a team like this, then try to go for different relics, like the 2-piece imaginary, 2-piece attack, or 4-piece imaginary, because what will be imprisoning, is that a word, imprisoning the enemies all the time. And said previously, remember, Bronya is the queen of hypercarry teams. So having a character utilize Bronya's kit is going to allow that character to deal so much more damage over characters that are not able to utilize Bronya. So wherever I can use these two characters together, and he's a hunt character, so he likes all the buffs that Bronya provides anyways, I will be using Bronya alongside him and any other damage dealer that benefits from her as well. I look at a team like this and I wonder, would it be good for Dr. Ratio? You have Huohuo giving a lot of attack and a lot of energy. She's just very good for hypercarry teams and teams where you want to funnel your Harmony and Harmony-like characters, like Sora, for instance. So the extra energy just comes in clutch. And she has a lot of cleanses in her kit, so she synergizes well with a character that cleanses also, so Bronya in this case. Another thing to take into consideration is in this team here, you're just funneling so much more damage to the hypercarry damage dealer. You do have Silverwolf with all the debuffs furthermore, so I will be trying Dr. Ratio out in a team like this, but I will be personally most likely using Dr. Ratio alongside Yukong, because again, Yukong is just so good for imaginary characters. This team has to be stellar in terms of performance for me to not use Yukong alongside Dr. Ratio, because it is hard to take Yukong off my team with Daniel. With the recent addition of the planar set, having Yukong in the team anyways with Dr. Ratio is going to give even more further damage bonus. One of the things about Bronya that's just very strong is that she gives so much imaginary damage bonus or elemental damage bonus to the damage carry, in this case Dr. Ratio, so she gives up to 90% even higher depending on the level of refinements you have on her weapon and level refinements you have on her eidolons, right? Depending on how much investment you have into Bronya, you're giving even more damage bonus, and then she gives attack and crit damage in additional turn to that character. So you don't even need to have that character on speed boots. So again, I will be testing all of this out, but I'm probably going to still lean towards Yukong just to flex out Bronya to a different team in general. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Dr. Ratio is a character I'm honestly looking forward to getting my hands on. Pause. I'm really looking forward to playing with the character. Pause again. So anyways, best of luck to all of you still relic farming for the character. Honestly, I'm glad I'm done. I don't have to bother relic farming for the character anymore. Thank you for watching, and have a nice rest of your day. Peace.